Be here to talk about two of my favorite topics. One is building, managing, and motivating traffic safety teams, and the other is occupant protection. Both are near and dear to my heart, personally and professionally. So I oversee the Community Traffic Safety Program in Northeast Florida. I also oversee the Rural Safety Coalition, and I manage the Executive Planning Coalition for the Florida State Coalition. We have a lot of coalitions in Florida. I am a certified child passenger safety technician as well, and I know that the most important message that we can communicate in our communities and our networks is the one of always buckling up. Recently, I did a survey of all of my teams and all of my partnerships, statewide, rural, my district, and 3 issues came up again and again when I asked the question, what 3 traffic safety topics are most important to you and your communities? And I'll count backwards. Distracted driving, child passenger safety, and number 1 across the board was occupant protection. So 3 very diverse groups and networks, and they were all identifying this as the thing that had to be addressed and still was so important in our communities. In Florida, we have had a traffic safety team network. In some states, it might be called a Safe Communities Network. A lot of people change the title, but we've had that for 20 plus years. And the Community Traffic Safety Program is actually a national program. And it was the joining of NHTSA and federal highways saying that, you know what, we need to join together to address traffic safety issues, and we've got to look at roads, we've got to look at behavior, we've got to look at vehicle factors to really make a difference in this problem. Again, this is the issue, this is the concern, and this is what we're hearing, and it's in our headlines. I'm sure it's in your headlines too. And this gives you just a brief glimpse of what 23 years of seatbelt legislation looks like in Florida. When I started, we were a secondary law state, and we were just launching the message of Buckle Up Florida. And you know, I believed, I was so thrilled when we got primary, but what I didn't understand was that 10-point boost you were going to get was going to be incremental and slow. It didn't change things overnight. It was still an incremental and slow change to drive our usage numbers up. You know, our teams in our network are probably right around the same number of years that we started to see legislative changes. So this is a picture of my district. This is what our crashes where people are not wearing seatbelts, that's what it looks like. It breaks out into our top 3 counties, which also happen to be survey counties. And just to give you a picture of the district, I have about 1.7 million people. We're an urban and rural mix of 18 counties. We cover about 12,000 square miles, and I really think we're bigger, or at least the same size as some small northeastern states. Our major cities would include Jacksonville, Gainesville, the home of University of Florida, St. Augustine, Florida. Their needs are very different. Their populations are very diverse. For those of you who are familiar with how seatbelt surveys and state usage are done, Florida for many, many years had 12 counties that were surveyed up until about 2012. And for me, Duval County was the survey county. The important thing about Duval County is that a lot of people live in surrounding counties who commute into Duval for work. And then of course a lot of people are living in Duval and traveling to other communities. So if you're going to do anything to try and influence Duval County, you really need to worry about the surrounding counties as well, those feeder counties. In 2012, we had a bit of a surprise. And the surprise was that the state went from, instead of just 12 survey counties, 15. And fortunately for me, 2 of those extra counties were in my district. So now we have 3 of the 15 survey counties for the state. I will tell you that 2 of the things we had to confront with Duval County, we had to push the stagnant seatbelt numbers, and we did a lot of outreach with minority communities to do that. And the other thing is that Alachua County is really kind of our rock star. They have the highest usage number in the state of Florida. I have to tell you, we have a secret to our success to get these numbers. And that is community engagement and grassroots efforts. Because of our community engagement and grassroots efforts, the ones that were already in place, when we had this change with surveys, there was nothing that I had to change as a program manager. We were already doing it. Those grassroots efforts at the local level with your volunteers who are in that community and giving their time and their support are really probably your vital piece of success. to promote occupant protection. You know, one of the hardest things to do is to keep a volunteer group going and growing. And it takes more than having a monthly meeting. And you're going to have to, you know, it's a lot of commitment and patience and determination and constantly reaching out and looking for new ways to bring this message home. The basis of what a CTST would look like is, of course, the 4 E's, and I think many of you are familiar with that message. Their focus is to reduce the severity and number of crashes in the areas, and of course to drive down those fatalities. The premise of the program is to have local communities solve local issues with state assistance. Our teams deal with every issue. They don't just deal with occupant protection, although it's one of the most important. They also deal with impairment and bike and ped safety and motorcycle safety. And we do corridor studies. We do the gamut of things in traffic safety. I mean, it is a very broad outreaching network. And when we take on an initiative, we take on the initiative area-wide or statewide. My network is about 1,500. And those are volunteers from the basics that you would expect, the city, the county, the state, federal agencies. We also have, of course, advocacy groups, city and county departments, charities, community service groups, health departments and hospitals, schools and school boards. We have pediatricians, law enforcement agencies, and with those you have 4, you know, city, county, state, and the university police departments are really a great help. I think the key to making a difference in the community and giving it that community messaging and that really grassroots look is to reach out to your business partners, and they can surprise you, whether it's a car maintenance chain or a radio station or a hospital. You know, you can put together different combinations of groups and really make a great impact. Some of the partners who have really surprised me and promoted the message in such innovative and fun ways have been trucking companies, our grocery stores, our insurance companies, our realtors, and our restaurants. And when you think about the power of all those people talking about traffic safety issues, specifically occupant protection, well, that's pretty incredible. I mean, that's community-wide. I've been to a lot today about social media, and I think social media is important. I think it should be a consideration for anything you do. But you also still need to have some printed materials and some things. And I hear often that people don't want printed materials. Well, wait. People don't want flyers, people don't want posters, but there are things that they do want. Things like tip cards that don't cost very much money and are very small and easy to distribute. And especially your law enforcement part. I would also consider, and in case you're wondering, when I say tip card, I mean, those cards would be something like along this size. The other thing I would implore you to consider is whatever you do, to think about tagging in the seatbelt message. We use a lot on whatever we're doing. We do a lot with, if you can see it, it's kind of hidden. It says phone down with a down arrow, buckle up, and there's an up arrow. And whether we're putting, whatever piece we're putting out or whatever we're promoting, we do something called Recipes for the Road. It's a recipe book that we put together every year. We still include seatbelt messages in that. So one easy way to get people involved and really to help your businesses become involved is to consider the idea of doing a local survey. And surveys are pretty simple. They don't take many resources, and they only take a person or two. We put a call out through our Florida Coalition for everyone to take on doing seatbelt surveys. And we have done them at rest areas with law enforcement. We'll go to schools. Of course, you've probably done Battle of the Belts yourself. Businesses, it works really, really well with the businesses and their employees. We'll do them at farmers markets, and then it's an easy message to get out. Well, what's going on in our community? What did we find out today? Of course, when you do this, you want to be very consistent. You want to do a pre-survey, you want to do a post-survey, same time, same place, and you want to have some kind of very simple educational piece to leave everybody with, along with that one-on-one message. And I've never seen, you know, people get very stressed at the rest areas when we have law enforcement in uniform walking up to them, thanking them, or of course, reminding them that it is the law. It's just as impactful with the local team members doing this at a farmer's market and surveying everybody coming in and going out and then talking to them while they're there. It is a really easy way to get a lot of different people involved, and it's something to consider. I know, you know, you may have done it before, but there might be a new twist on how you do this or how to bring this in. When you do a program, whatever it is you're doing, It's a lot different, and it's received in a different way if it's your local community members doing it as opposed to, say, a large centralized agency asking for everybody to do this message. And I'm going to tell you about something that we had happen. Rural communities. There's been a lot of resistance, and it's pretty hard to get rural communities sometimes to increase their seatbelt usage. One of the things that we heard again and again, and I would be in Bradford County, I would be in Baker County, I would be in Columbia County. We would come up on the time where we'd ask everybody to start thinking about promoting and pushing out buckling up. I just sensed kind of a hesitation. There wasn't a lot of requests for materials. Everybody didn't seem really excited. There was some kind of, there just wasn't a lot of enthusiasm with it. And at the time, we had the messages of buckle up in your truck, and we had the message of course, click it or ticket. So sitting around the local rooms, I had the chance to say to our local health department representative or our sheriff or our police chief, what message is going to resonate in your community? What's going on? What do you want to say? And they said to me, not those. Those are just not going to do it with my citizens. Those are just not what we want to do. So we took a few months, and it was a very minimal cost to produce it, but they actually came up with the message they wanted to push out, and that was, be tough enough to buckle up. And I will tell you, the piece that was made for this was very different from anything else that we were using at the time. It started out with, how would your family and friends feel if you flew through your windshield and took a body skid down some asphalt? Not good, because chances are you'd be dead. And it went on, and it talked about how, of course, top-heavy pickups could roll over, and people would be ejected and killed, and the slow response time in the rural communities. And they said that's what they wanted to do. Well, when I look back at the numbers, because of course we track everything, 45,000 of those tip cards went out in print, let alone all of the images that were shared from social media. So they were very excited to promote Be Tough Enough to Buckle Up, where they really didn't have that passion for the other standard messages that were being pushed. I don't care which message you choose to use. I would like you to use click it or ticket. If you don't want to do that one, buckle up is fine with me. If you want to say be tough enough to buckle up, I'm okay with it, because it's that repetitive, consistent messaging that has to be addressed to the community that you're addressing that's going to make the difference. So I put a call out to all of my friends and colleagues, and I said, do you have anything with a buckle up or click it or ticket message that you won't be using? And they sent me whatever logos were left. I mean, I had click it or ticket, I had 2 or 3 versions of buckle up, we had, hundreds and hundreds of banners go out, a number of hand fans go out, and it didn't matter. It was just that repetitive, consistent, and constant messaging on top of what they were already seeing and hearing that I really think made the difference. And sometimes you just have to work with what you have. If you don't have the budget, use what you can. That when there are national partnerships and statewide strategic plans announced, one thing that you can do is be aware of it and try to bring it home. It really changed the involvement and enthusiasm of my health department when they saw the signed strategic plan from the head of the health department and the governor and the head of all these other state agencies. It really made it personal, and it brought it home, and it kind of gave everybody a little bit more commitment to being involved. Occupant protection is a message that I think any partner should be able to get behind and support. Regardless of your primary focus, if you love bike ped or you love distracted or you are an advocate for motorcycle, I still think that occupant protection is something that should be a unifier for all in your groups. It's a message that we can all do. It's a very simple message to convey, and we can all play a role in that. The simplicity of it is that anybody can be an educator with it, and everybody should. I also say that I think anyone can be your partner in traffic safety, and everybody has something to provide. So whether it's use of the message board, or if it's a printing or time or space, look for those opportunities where your partners can really shine and be showcased. You need a lot of things to be successful, and if you can, I would seek the input and expertise of your network, because sometimes you might be surprised at what they're going to share with you about what you should be doing. There is a difference between asking someone to partner with you and then just asking them to distribute something for you. The next generation, I would say that in Florida, our schools have community service hours. So those are for high school students. So there's always opportunities to reach out to them and to bring them into your efforts and engage them. And they've been good partners for us as well. And I know we're talking about adult occupant protection today, but I'm always surprised by how there's a certain time where a lot of people become very sensitive to the idea of buckling up because of children. WHALE is a national program. We have a little emergency. It's identification and information and education program for parents of kids who are in car seats and booster seats. Now, I don't have people calling my office for flyers on child passenger safety, but they do call for this program. And I have to say, one of the most passionate networks that I've seen is the Child Passenger Safety Network. And it's not a very far stretch for them to be helping you promote the idea of buckling up. A lot of times, people in traffic safety want to work in their silos. And I think for those of us who are building teams and trying to reach out into our communities, you know, what we're trying to do is break down the silos and get everybody unified and working together. Finally, I would just like to say that you know, I can remember my very first Lifesavers, and I made a lot of friends at that event 18 years ago that I've worked with for all these years of my career. So as you're meeting people at the conference and you're hearing about ideas, I would encourage you to reach out to them, and I would encourage you to keep in touch, because there are a lot of people who have led the way and have some great ideas and expertise to share, and they would be happy to. So I hope that everybody has a great conference, and thank you.